Next up, I want to look at the Reshape tool. We've covered it a little bit in other videos, but I'd like to cover it in depth. And the Reshape tool acts a little bit differently depending on what type of object you're working on. So first up, let's take a look at our rectangle. If we come over here on the rectangle, just with the selection tool, because you can change shapes and sizes using either the selection tool or using the Reshape tool. So with the rectangle tool, we can even just go ahead and resize the rectangle using the selection key by kind of clicking and dragging our handles over here. Then if we come over here to the Reshape tool, we have a couple different modes. So the first thing, let's play with our rectangle with the Move Polygon Handles mode. And one thing that I want you to pay attention to as I start working with this rectangle is that currently I'm a rectangle, but the minute I move one of these points, I become a polygon. So it's important to note that kind of stuff. My first mode is just going to allow me to move any handle on my object. My second mode is the Move Edges Parallel mode, and this can be really nice. Let's say I need to go ahead and reduce the height of this shape. What I would do is just click the center handle or vertices and move that up or down. And notice that it's going to keep the two vertices on the edge. It's going to keep those perfectly parallel with each other. So in some shapes, this second mode will not work, but when it does work, it is really helpful. My third mode up here is to change the vertice mode, and what that allows me to do is, these were all of the vertice modes that I used to draw the shape. I can come in after the fact and I can edit those. So let's go ahead, I'm going to use this Bezier control mode, and any handle that I click on this shape is going to turn into a Bezier vertice instead of the corner point vertice. And notice it won't let me select those center handles, only the corner vertices. So I can go ahead and I can change that corner so that it's now a curve. Next up, I can always add a vertice. So let's go ahead and add an extra point over here. I can also go ahead and delete a point if it's not working correctly. So I can click that one. And then I have this hide or show edge modes. And this can be really helpful if you add a border using the hardscape tool. It doesn't always work on other things, but you can see that it did work in this case because I have like a solid fill, but my outline, and let's make this outline bolder so that you can see it better. You can see that it removed the outline on this edge of my shape. But if I come over and I close that shape, then it removes that edit. So just be aware of that. Next up, let's look at our extruded shape. So your extrude is going to work really similar to the way that your rectangle did, in that you can resize just by clicking and dragging. And these are all resizing in 3D as well. Change our rendering so we can see it. So here is our 3D for our extrude. Come over here, we'll reduce that. And then if I want to use the Reshape tool on an extrude, so here's the Reshape tool, notice when I select the Reshape tool that I don't have any handles that I can go ahead and click and drag and change that shape with. So in order to use the Reshape tool on an extrude, I need to enter that edit mode again. So double click your object, and then you're going to be in edit mode. And then I can click that, I can come in here to the Reshape mode. I can go ahead, not all of the modes will work with all different shapes. So for instance, when I was in the hide or show edges mode, it didn't give me any handles or vertices that I could click, but if I come over here to the Move Polygon Handles mode, I will have vertices that I can go ahead and change. So let's just kind of change our shape up a little bit. and then exit out of that. So that's how an extrude can be edited. So notice with an auto hybrid that with the selection tool, I don't have any handles that I can edit with. And with the reshape tool, I don't have any handles that I can edit with. So what I need to do in order to edit an auto hybrid is simply to double click to enter in edit mode. And then I'm currently working with an extrude. Once again, I have, with my selection tool, I can go ahead and I can resize, but with the reshape tool, I don't have any more options. So if I want to reshape, what I need to do is I need to double click one more time, because now my object has changed to a rectangle. So what this is every time you take an object and you modify it into a new object, essentially it's creating what's called a nested edit. So let's back out of this and look at it one more time. So here we're looking at an auto hybrid. I can right click for the context menu and select edit. And now what I'm looking at is the extrude that I used to create the auto hybrid, but I can continue to drill down. So now if I right click for the context menu again and click edit one more time, now I'm looking at that original rectangle that I created that extrude with that was used to create the auto hybrid. And now from this point, I can start to edit that shape. So let's just kind of play around a little bit, and let's go ahead and draw a square in here, and then I'm going to go ahead and subtract these surfaces from each other. So it's called clip surface. I'll select clip surface, and then I'm going to go ahead and delete that rectangle from that shape. And then for every time that I drill down further into the objects, I'm going to have to edit another edit mode. So this first exit, I'm going to exit the extrude. The second exit, I'm going to exit the auto hybrid, and then I'm back to the auto hybrid. But you can see that you can make all sorts of edits after the fact. So let's go back into this just one more time. I have this back so that I am in the polyline mode, and at this point now that I'm working with the 2D shape, the reshape tool will work for me once again. So I could use this second mode up here, the move edges parallel mode, and I can go ahead and make this a little bit wider while maintaining my perfect right angles for corners, and then exit that, exit it again. And so that's how you can kind of play around with an auto hybrid. Next up, let's look at the hardscape in our file. And in this instance, I don't have any editing features available to me with the selection tool, but I do when I click on the reshape tool. And so instead of having blue vertices, they're white here instead, but I can go ahead and I can click and drag any of these to play around and change my shapes. So the main difference is that when you're working with extrudes or auto hybrids, you need to go into edit mode, but if it's a hardscape, then you can just work on your drawing layer with the reshape tool.